Have you ever wanted to design your own sword? And I don't just mean picking from prefabs, I mean really getting down into the details to make something unique. Hey people, voice talking to you, and this is Bladesong, a fantasy swordsmith simulator set in a dark, post-apocalyptic world. If you love the idea of forging custom swords in exquisite detail, there's a link down in the description in case you'd like to check out the game for yourself. Next to that is a link to my full playthrough stream of the campaign mode if you'd like to see more gameplay and my first impressions. Bladesong comes complete with two modes, a story mode and a sandbox mode. Surprisingly enough, I feel like the sandbox mode is actually the stronger of the two, but more about that after the story. The world of Bladesong is actually quite bleak, and some sort of apocalypse has left the world as a monster-infested wasteland. Now, the playtest never goes into what that cataclysm is, or how it came about, but the last real bastion of safety lies within this place called RKVC. This walled city is protected by its ruler, the Masked King, but again, we don't get to know much more than that about them. We're one of the many thousands of refugees camped outside the city walls, starving and impoverished, waiting and begging for a chance to enter. Fortunately, we know how to use a forge, and RKVC is in need of a new bladesmith. After getting both our citizenship and a new forge for free, we can begin crafting custom swords to fulfill the commissions of scavengers, mercenaries, and city soldiers. That's as far as the story gets in the demo. Supposedly, there's going to be a story we can influence, I guess by choosing who we make weapons for, but I'm just guessing since I didn't actually get to see any of it. There is this tavern we can go to at the end of the day to play cards, bother locals with questions, or mingle with our clients, but once again, that's all there really is there for now. There is a lot of writing to read, and most of it is pretty decent as far as the prose goes, but it's also mostly just flavor text that doesn't really serve to further the story much, and the world building itself overall is pretty weak. As for the mechanics, we get a number of commissions each day we have to work to fulfill. There's pretty much only 4 kinds of requests now, but there will definitely be more of these in the full version. We have a limited number of days to complete each request, and each sword will have different requirements from the customer, including weight, piercing and cutting ability, and balance. That brings us to the good part, making swords. In the forge, we can spend action points to use our acquired skills and modify our blade. We only start with a couple of simple abilities like changing width, tapering, and sharpening, but as we complete commissions, we will level up and unlock skill points. We have a simple skill tree which marks our progression and lets us collect different buffs like additional action points each day, or unlock new skills like fullers, curvature, and flamboyance. Once we have our blade settled, we can purchase handles, guards, pommels, and other bits that can be added to the sword to further customize the look and shift the stats a bit. For now, that's the game. Just be careful with your action points and have a general idea of how changes to the blade will shift its stats, and you're golden. There's really only one major quality of life issue with this loop, and that is the lack of a measurement tool. We don't get any sort of preview of how an alteration to our blade will shift its stats, which makes sense, that's part of the challenge, but there's also no metric for us to measure our changes by, so not only are the results guesswork, but you're completely eyeballing everything you do and hoping the results are what you want. So yeah, the story mode isn't great, and if you're looking for an immersive workshop sim, this probably won't do it for you. But if you like the idea of sitting down with some sleek, easy to understand editing software and designing completely unique swords or recreating your favorite weapons from other games, then I think you're gonna love the sandbox mode. Here we can customize, experiment, and craft swords however we want without the restrictions of action points or money. The greatest strength of this game is easily its sword customization, and in sandbox mode, that's front and center. Once you learn how to use the game's tools, it's actually crazy what you can end up making. These aren't just presets where we pick out 3 pieces of a weapon and fit them together, either. If you want a longer handle, you can stretch the one you have out, or stack 2 of them together. Maybe 5, who cares? Don't like the shape of the handguard? Switch it out, stretch it around, or rotate it to fit your needs. The level of customization here is honestly insane, and the sword graphics are stellar too. So your masterpiece will really feel like a work of art. Almost everything can be twisted, rotated, shrunk, enlarged, stretched, stacked, and retextured. This mode has all of the assets from the story mode available to us, which isn't a ton at the moment, but it wouldn't be hard to add more materials, abilities, and parts. Speaking as a dungeon master, I love the idea of this game just as a tool to make high-quality 3D versions of weapons for my players. As an editing tool for making awesome swords, this game is super easy and fun to use. Speaking as a hobbyist blacksmith, the cross-section view gives the exact dimensions, weight, and balance of the weapon you've made. Now, I don't know enough to say for sure, but someone with a professional shop could probably recreate the weapon they design here, given the skills, tools, and materials, of course. So, down to brass tacks, this game is kind of what I initially was worried it would be. a bit of retextured Unreal Engine in the shell of a game. I'm not really intrigued by the game's world building or challenge modes. That isn't to say they won't improve, but they aren't really what stuck out to me. I am, however, all in on sinking hours into perfecting swords I drew when I was 5, and in that regard, I was really surprised how tactile and fun it was to just sit down and design my own blades. But I'm just the voice in your head, so what do you think of Bladesong? Are you hoping for more of a story here, or are you just interested in making cool swords? What's the first sword you would make with this game? I'd love to know what you think down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, leaving a like helps get the channel through the algorithm and keeps the forge burning. If you want to see more, subscribing is the best way to support the channel and keep new content coming your way, because I put out new stuff every single week. Thanks so much for listening to me today, and you'll be hearing from me again real soon.